assembly, and it's waiting to be put back in the telescope and tested out.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I have two other brand new mirrors in boxes. So I'm ready to do an experiment on all of these as soon as I get the ambition.
No, I was just wondering. I hope it works out, you know.
I think it will. And I think everything that everybody said made sense to me as I was taking the original assembly apart and working out the redesign of it. And the way it is right now, it basically just sits in the holder with no way to move, but there's no pressure on it, which is kind of what Tom was talking about in a sense, but with clips. I'm still doing it with, where'd it go? Of course, my design is, 6 threaded rods that hold the whole thing together. And this is, I don't know if you can see this. So here's the mirror, and the mirror is clamped here, although it's just being held. There's no pressure. And the adjustment screws move that assembly separately.
Wow.
Or as a whole, I should say. So, and this is the mirror that was giving me trouble. So that's the first thing I have to do is to find out if I fixed that problem. And if I did, is that mirror up to snuff, or should I try one of my other mirrors? I got another one of these from Agena, but I also bought an old new old stock Parks configured glass, and had it deluminized. So I've got some experimenting to do.
Wow.
I really want to see the stars off that because it's masked.
Out, you know. I hope it works out.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's so cool. And I know my new has little, like, where the clips are, you get these little diffraction spikes, kind of. So
yeah,
I'm real curious how that'll go on yours.
So that's actually the spider. And I don't know whether you have a 2, 3, or 4-legged spider. I've got a 3 holding the secondary end.
Let's take a look at it.
Yeah, I have the spiders diffraction spikes are there, but you can also see little ones. There's 2 off each clip. So they're little, but if you zoom in like I do.
So you can, I imagine they show up a lot when you're out of focus. If you rack it way out.
Oh yeah, you can just see them
up really
right.
prominent.
Right. I'm just curious of having it masked like that, because I paid extra to buy this mask that you put over the mirror.
So
but it wasn't big enough to even cover the clips, so I didn't even install it.
There's a secondary.
Oh, cool.
Very
yeah,
nice.
there's 3 spiders.
It's all custom made and printed on a 3D printer. This whole thing is. Anything black is.
Autofocus already on there.
That's great.
Impressive.
That's great, Steve.
That
Really
is
nice.
cool.
Hey, Wayne.
Hi, hello.
Hey, Wayne.
Hey.
Hey, Wayne.
Yeah, how you doing?
Super.
Yeah,
Started.
tried to get out and do some astrophotography last Friday night over at Green Lane, but it was very cold and very heavy dew and not very good seeing. So I got pictures. I tried to get pictures of Saturn. I haven't even looked at them on the computer because they're not going to be any good. By the
John
time
and
I was
I
done,
didn't have, yeah.
by the
John and
time
I
was
didn't
done-
have any dew on Sunday night. We went straight to
Oh, yeah?
frost.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. Well, by the time I was done collecting images for Saturn, I looked at the corrector lens and it was fogged over. So I realized that was a waste.
Do you have a dew shield or a heater on it?
Both, yeah. Well, I had to
That's a
crank
rough
up
night.
I didn't have the dew heater turned up high enough. So I proceeded to maximize the dew heater on the front lens, and that gradually reduced it. But by the time it was close to clear, I was ready to go home.
It gets really foggy out there some nights. I've had like it looked like fog just set in on me before.
Tomorrow it's supposed to be clear if you guys have time to go out.
Yeah, I usually start with the dew heater set at minimum power, unless I decide I need more. And I checked I should have checked sooner.
Yeah.
Is that your SC8?
Yeah.
I always leave mine cranked, as I never know what to. And I understand that it can cause some currents in the little the shield itself, but when it's frustrating when you're out there and you have a night's work and half of the data is all foggy, frosty.
Yeah. Well, next time if I see condensation on surfaces, I gotta crank it to like medium at least, and try to stay ahead of it. Because if I leave it on full, it's gonna drain my batteries pretty quick. And
Oh, that's right. I forgot your remote.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't have AC.
I've seen Jeremy pull out, he has like a little hair dryer. He pulled it out and hit his secondary on his new.
I have one of those too, a little 12-volt
idea.
hair dryer.
Yeah,
That
in a
I've used,
pinch.
at times when things
I was
start
like,
getting.
What kind of
If I don't have it, I'll just put my hands around the secondary for like 5 minutes when the outside, and that will clear it if it's not too bad.
Okay, that's a good idea.
What kind of battery do you have, Wayne?
Lithium batteries I'm using. I don't know what size they are. I have one that I use just for dew heaters and one that I use just for the telescope itself.
Because
a smaller one.
You might be able to get away with using a deep cycle marine battery.
I used to use lead acid, but they're just so heavy, and these have more power than I had on the lead acids that I used to use.
I recommend LiFePO4 these days. Lithium ion phosphate.
Phosphate, I think it is. Yeah, I got one of those. It works
That's all the
pretty well.
rage.
Yeah,
I took
lithium,
mine down and killed it.
Yeah, the lithium batteries like to go all the way down and recharge the stuff. Lead acid, if you drain it down, it does not like the deep cycle like that, and really shortens its life.
Yeah.
It's like when you leave your light on in your car and it goes all the way dead. Your battery's not
New
gonna last
battery.
quite as many years after a few of those episodes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I drained my battery the other night. Actually, after Doug left, I was trying to balance power between my laptop and the little backpack, and the mount started beeping, beep beep beep, and I'm Googling it on my phone, and it's like that means the voltage is too low, and then I was like, I don't know, I'm getting subs, don't touch it, and so then eventually it just went woof. And the mount's stuck, and I didn't have enough power to home it to put it in the case. And
here you go. Here, John. This is.
I had like that exactly.
Yeah, and it was cheap. It was like a little over $200, and
That's the Blue Eddy.
It's something, the Blue Eddy, and it's something like.
Does that have an app?
Is that an inverter?
Everything's got an app.
No, to check the power without touching it.
Oh no! Oh, it may.
That'd be nice.
But it's
an inverter generator?
I forget, but it's something like 537 watt hours.
That's a big one.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Yeah.
use.
Yeah, mine's 300 watt hour. That's a LifePo 4
And I
pack.
still have the old, the old 240 watt hour battery, so I can have. And failing that, if neither one of those work, I still have the car.
An electric car.
Yeah, I can hook it up to I can hook the inverter up to the cigarette lighter jack, and
If you're brave enough, they do make those little chargers
Yeah.
that you can recharge your battery, your dead battery on your car with, if you're brave enough to use that.
really.
You know,
Well, I mean, we could probably hook up a. I
Mm.
could hook up a You could hook up a generator to a standing bicycle, and that would go a long way to solving the problem of being cold out there at night.
yeah, sure. But if
Doug
you,
runs a whole desktop. Doug
Yeah.
Doug sits up in office with a lamp when he's out there.
Oh, yeah.
Got his mouse.
Yeah, I have a Bluetooth
You
mouse.
do
Yeah, I
that,
set up
but-
a desktop.
you bring a lot of blankets with you, because when you can't get it started, you're gonna want some warmth.
Yeah.
Oh. I do have one tip. I'll be right back.
Now, if there's something in Green Lane that you want to take an image of that's going to be very high in the sky, and then you can plug it in, you're welcome to come and use my backyard.
Yeah.
You know that you're limited to the zenith.
John,
those
I ordered one of
theaters?
those. It's coming to me. It's in the mail.
We're talking about keeping warm.
Yeah.
My partner does massage therapy, and they got these hot shots, reusableheat.com. And you boil these things and they get soft. And then there's a little metal tab and you click it and it starts an exothermic reaction. It's like a heat pad. And you slip this underneath your jacket, get in the backseat of your car, in a sleeping bag, and then let your telescope image. It's the only way to go.
God, I tell you, I don't miss
I'll use
those
it for this
days.
here. Well, John, could I share my screen?
Yeah, let me.
Yeah, go ahead. See if this will work.
I think I just made him co-host. Is that right, Lou?
Okay.
Yeah,
Share
you get-
screen. Do I have to click
That's
that?
one way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Click
you did
share.
share screen.
Okay, just a second. Does everybody see that? That's my left hand.
Oh, what
Yeah, I
happened?
see it.
That's called, and
Yeah.
for you who don't know, this delightful little illness is called Raynaud's syndrome.
Oh, Raynaud's.
Yeah, so yeah, that was very helpful. That's how I survive, how I do astrophotography in the winter without having my fingers amputated. All right, that's all.
I don't think that's you're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Heat packs.
It
are-
helped.
yeah,
It helped.
yeah.
Really. I came back I was out there for 8 hours though on
It gets
just
cold. I was out there
I
last
think
night
I'm
and
in
used 2
control.
heat packs.
You
Yeah.
can now resume the
You have to
screen.
stop sharing, I think.
Oh, stop sharing. I have new share, pause share. Okay, your screen
Up
sharing.
on
is
top,
paused.
maybe.
More. Oh, stop video. Stop security participant. New share.
Hmm.
I hate.
Doug has hijacked the meeting.
I know. Steve
Yeah,
does.
I know.
Modern
It was a
technology
plot.
Yeah.
is great.
I
Oh, there
removed
we
your
go.
permissions, Doug.
Yeah, right. Permanently.
Banned.
That's right. Yeah. Obviously, since obviously I could not handle the responsibility.
No, it's fun. We had a good time out there. I went back last night too. I am tired.
Oh my
I
God.
counted up. I got 12 hours of data in 3 days. So I'm pretty excited.
What were you imaging?
I was working on 2 targets. I had a lot of firsts. It's my first time using Nina.
Mhm,
My first time actually having a successful meridian split do its own thing.
mhm.
And my first time imaging the same object 2 nights in a row and got the
Mhm.
data to actually stack. So
How'd you like Nina?
Nina saved me because I got this phone app and connect my laptop to my phone like a little local hotspot. And I can look at the subs and all the data rolling off on my phone. So I can stay in my sleeping bag and then watch it. And then if it gets,
Yeah.
when it's time to change filters, I jump out and play with the drawer. But otherwise, the autofocusor is going. It's not perfect, but I'm still debugging stuff. But I'm pretty excited about it.
Now you didn't use your 8-inch, did you, when you try to go over multiple nights?
Correct, I haven't. I've been reading
Yeah,
about
because of this,
that.
because of the diffraction spikes are going to be really killer.
Some people say as long as your scope doesn't rotate, it's okay if your camera rotates. I'm not sure. Do you?
I don't know about that.
Well, one cool thing about Nina that I learned, there's a feature where you can, you know how you do plate solve? You can go
Yep.
back to the, well, it also does orientation. And you say you have a manual rotator, and it actually plate solves and it tells you to rotate your camera. So I just loosen the 3 screws. It's like, look, rotate 12 degrees counterclockwise. So I loosen it and slip it, tighten it up, and it's like, go 4 degrees clockwise. And I keep doing it until you get within 1 degree. So you can actually center your camera within a degree across nights with that. That was a
Oh,
cool
that's
feature.
interesting. Yeah.
I didn't know I'd learned that. So, but yeah, I got to deal with that sometime, Tom. I'm starting with baby steps with the refractor.
Talk
Newts
about
are
patience.
newts are a pain.
Yeah, you need patience.
That's all I got.
I know. And I'm like, this guy, that's all he has. No, I respect that. I appreciate it. So, yeah.
So did you capture anything new that we haven't seen?
I have. I haven't. I just did some basic processing. I'm not happy with anything yet. I'll give you a sneak peek if you guys are curious to see.
Yeah.
All right. Do you see this little Windows machine here?
Yeah.
It's messed up right now, but real quick, I'll give you a quick peek of Nina. So I still like SharpCat for polar alignment,
Mhm.
and though Nina has a feature where you can polar align without Polaris, it just does plate solving anywhere, and it works kind of similar to SharpCat, which is cool if you can't see Polaris. So it's got a few tricks that I've been impressed. And the other thing, it integrates with PhD2 guiding and all that junk. But there's this whole thing called a sequencer, which is very similar to SharpCat's sequencer. And
Yeah, SG Pro as a sequencer.
so this is, I wrote this little sequence after watching 10 YouTube videos, but it lets me pick the target. So the Sol Nebula was one of them, and it tells you when it's going to transit. And it has these triggers. So the way it works is it comes down and it shoots, say, 2503, and then it does 35 HA or whatever you want. And while it's looping through this, if the temperature drops, it'll trigger an autofocus. If it detects if the image get blurry, it'll trigger an autofocus. And it automatically will, if clouds roll through, it'll restart guiding. And once the meridian hits, it'll trigger a meridian flip. So it's kind of cool. So with this little thing here, I can automate it enough to run about an hour at a time without touching it. So
yeah, Nina's pretty powerful.
and the framing assistant is pretty slick. I'll show you. You can actually rotate stuff. I don't know. So you can come over here and rotate this around to frame something up. And then whenever it goes over there, even if it's manual, it'll have you rotate your camera to line it up with what you expect to see. So that's helped me out. I've twisted my neck so many times looking at my phone trying to line up shots. But so that's the quick thing. But so here's some 7 hours on the Sol Nebula. This is the hydrogen alpha. That might be a little better. But I'm pretty happy
Very
with,
nice, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good.
and it's kind of cool to see the O3 comparison. There's not nearly as much signal in O3.
Yeah, really.
And so these I tried doing 4-minute subs to get a little more signal on the O3. And then I did a quick combine of it with some processing. And that's sort of what I ended up with.
Oh, that looks great.
Yeah. So,
You can come in. You see a little
Really
star.
nice.
yeah.
The autofocus was off for some of my subs. I didn't catch it till later. So I'm still tweaking, but
That's fine. Yeah.
it's definitely,
Yeah. You got some great detail
Yeah.
in there. That's nothing to.
I'm happy with it. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
But
That's,
it's
Yeah, I
always fun to push. And the other one I got a little bit on was, so Steve's been shooting the Bubble Nebula, and I've shot it a little bit. But now since I'm using the refractor, I have about 400 millimeters. I can fit more in. I fit in the lobster claw, the next door neighbor. So you get the lobster claw
the
nebula
bubble,
over
yeah.
here. You got the bubble nebula over here.
Oh, nice.
And then there's some
Great.
star clusters going on
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
in
That's
GCs.
M52 there, I think.
The
And then
salt
there's-
and pepper cluster, I believe.
There's this guy down here. So
Yeah.
I'm still playing around with the pixel math and all that stuff. It's still new to me, but it's kind of fun processing. I'll just shoot 2 filters. It's easier. And then call it good. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Yeah, very nice.
Be very proud of those.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll keep working on them. I'll send them out later, but that's your sneak peek. And
Hey,
there's-
John, how are you detecting the temperature? How does it detect the temperature change?
Okay, yeah. Whoops, sorry. I'm jumping all over the place. So I go into equipment. I do have a ZWO autofocuser,
Oh,
EAF,
okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
and it has a built-in one. And it
Got it.
also comes with like a thermocouple. I'm not
Right.
even using the thermocouple. And in my experience, the built-in one always reads maybe 5 degrees Celsius higher than ambient, but it's good enough. It'll detect a trend line, and you can set it up like every 2 degrees centigrade, trigger an autofocus, stuff like that.
Got it.
Yeah, the focuser, it's not plugged up right now, but yeah, it's kind of cool. So you can do your camera. You can do, it has a manual filter wheel. I just successfully connected my manual filter wheel. And you can define your filters. And you can even set up filter offsets and all that stuff, even with just a filter drawer. It's kind of cool. It seems a lot, I'm guessing, like ASI Air, except it works with other stuff besides ZWO stuff. And the other random trick is I upgraded the firmware on my mount, the ZWO AM5. That way it actually can go past meridian longer. So now I can keep imaging for like 10 minutes during the meridian and then do the flip 10 minutes later. Before it'd just stop. So those are some random updates.
Be careful you don't hit your peer. I've
Yeah.
done that once or
Right.
twice.
It'll let you shoot yourself in the new feature. You can go up to 15 degrees past meridian. So you might crash if you don't know.
Yeah, I set mine up ahead of time when the sun was still out to make sure that I don't smack into the pier.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, I'm not feeling so good. I'm going to cut out. But John, I'll let you have the rest of the meeting.
Okay.
And don't forget when you record it, put it on the website on the astrophotography section, not
Okay.
not on the the
I don't know if I have access to the website stuff.
you should if you have the
I might now. Okay, I'll have to fuss with it. If I get stuck, I'll email you and do it tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, just all you gotta do is make sure the link goes to the astrophotography section rather than the regular general monthly meetings.
I see what you mean. Okay.
Okay.
I'll be in
All right.
touch with you.
Good to see you all again.
Rest
Right,
up.
see you,
See you
Lou.
Yeah,
later.
take
Better,
care,
Lou.
Lou.
Yeah.
Hope you feel better, man.
Thank
Yeah.
you. All right, good night.
Good seeing you, Lou.
Ciao. Does anyone else have pictures of stuff you want to share?
I've got like a half a dozen things in the middle of processing, but I've got maybe two I can show. Uh,
There you go.
okay, where is it? Share screen.
We see your Zoom page. There it is. Hey.
So I've done this guy like 5 or 6 times. I just
That was
didn't.
your nemesis for a while.
Oh, wasn't it, Tom?
Ring. That's Ring.
Yeah.
Tom,
You must have a good western sky.
So, yeah, Tom remembers this from my very, very first attempts with a 8-inch Dobsonian and saying, "Where is this thing? I cannot find it."
It's tiny.
Tom is, do I go right? Do I go left? Here's what star I'm looking at. Tom says, "There's no up and down in space." I'm saying, my head's got up and down. How do I find this thing? So, anyways, it took a go-to find it. Not really.
Yeah, you found it in the end.
So I just did that again I mean, it's such a small object, but it's so bright,
Very nice.
kind of
Very
interesting to do.
You can see the little star in the middle too.
Yeah, two in there.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
On my screen, I can see it.
I see
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
The other one I've never done before, C-44 Superman. I don't know if anybody else has done this one.
Whoa.
Very nice.
Oh, I think
Really
This
nice.
is this past week.
E44. That one, do you know what the NGC number is of that, Steve?
That is, hold on. Well, I've got it as C-44. Oh, the NGC? Do they all overlap?
Yeah, it probably has an NGC number to it too. This is the Coldwell catalog, I guess.
Yeah.
I may have done this one once when I was doing a bunch of galaxies. When I was in galaxy
Like
mode. It looks familiar.
79.
What's this?
It looks like 7479.
So I found it, it's a little faint and I struggled with it, but there's a lot more going on in here than what I was able to bring out. You can see it, but still it's kind of interesting.
105 million light years. It's pretty far, you know. That's a great shot.
Yeah, it's got a neat shape.
Yeah, it is a nice shot of that.
Yeah.
So that's all I got until I finish processing all this other stuff. I did have a string of good nights. And tonight was supposed to be good, but it's not. It's totally clouded out. So I've got some other stuff that I'm processing to be seen later.
Yeah, I went back. I did image that a while ago. That's 74, 70, 79, back basically 2 years ago. I was about 6 months into this EAA stuff. So I took a 20-minute exposure of it in black and white. And it's pre my serial processing days. So it's pretty unimpressive, but I'll show it in a minute. But you'll see yours is quite a bit better than
Well,
my
this
20
is
minute.
about 6 hours.
Yeah,
Nice.
Of course, I got a 6 inch, you know.
you're an F. You're an
Pretty zoomed in.
F6.3 too. So
No, I'm at F7 with this one.
oh, F7. Okay, yeah. So I'm 6 hours for you. Then it's probably like 2 hours for me. But
Very nice.
yeah, very good.
Really great.
Cool.
I got.
Hmm.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll show you my 74, 79, and I'll give you actually a sneak peek of something that is not mine, but I thought it was so cool that I just got from Mike Atwell. Joe has seen it, I think.
Yep.
An annual eclipse shot. I have a little talk tomorrow that most people who've seen the eclipse are not around. Jan's not around, and she saw it. And Harry Orland right now is in Florida, and he saw it. And Mike Ferrari is forever out in the out in the dark barrens of the West since Labor Day. He's still out there, so I'll show his. If Mike comes to the meeting, which I think he's going to, I'll have him speak to his slides. But
Yeah, I thought
so
Mike
I
was
just
gonna be
put
here
it.
tonight, actually, but
But let me. Well, first I'll show you. This is less. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the 20 minutes pre-serial. That's just I took it, stacked it, did a little bit of stretch, took it into Lightroom, and that's it. I didn't do any serial stuff or any serious processing because this is back. Oh, it's over 2 years ago, so that was pretty new. I started even putting a camera on to do a deep sky picture in late March of 2021. So, but anyway, but I thought that looked familiar, Steve.
Yeah. What was that? 20 minutes?
It's 20 minutes, yeah, 120 seconds, 1,020 seconds, 1,200
It's amazing what you guys can get as compared to what I have to, how much time I have to put in.
Was it an F4, this one?
This is F4.
Yeah.
The F4 makes just a huge difference.
Yeah. I'm like my refractor at 5.6 feels slow.
And look how cool this shot is. This is Mike's shot. It's not my shot. I'd love to have this
Wait,
shot.
it's still showing the galaxy.
Oh, well, that's a shame, isn't
Is
it?
it doing that thing where you have to like
What if
remember
I blow the
Windows?
galaxy away? Screen has stopped
Yeah.
sharing. Oh, window's closed. Okay. Well, that's one way of doing it. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
The clouds make it so cool because everything else on our slideshow for tomorrow night, there's no clouds. And partial solar eclipses or an annular solar eclipse, even the total solar eclipse during the partial phases, if there's a lot of solar activity, it's a lot of fun. If you have like big sunspot groups and stuff that you can see, but it's always a pretty quiet sun back in October. So there wasn't much of not many spots during the partial phases. But this is cool because it even has the little valleys in here
Yeah.
that block the edge of the sun. I mean, I just love the way it looks. I love the color. It's really nice, the browns and but he said he really had to jack this up because visually it was almost invisible at this point. So he just cranked the ISO way up and just blasted away and he got it. It's really nice.
I like that.
But I want to show you guys that in case somebody doesn't come to the meeting tomorrow or something. I know you're going to be there. Not tomorrow, but on Friday. I know you're going to be there, John, because you're going to be
Yeah. Me and Lou Berman
you're
are
going to be holding the whole fort together there.
doing the
while I'm
AV. Yeah, well,
stumbling around. Yeah, but anyway, and I
Really,
think
really nice.
yeah.
that's a great shot by Mike.
Tom, is Mike going to be there Friday? Do you know?
He said he kind of implied he was going to be there because
Okay.
I asked him about the pictures and stuff
Right.
and he sent them to me and he said yeah I should I should be there Friday night so hopefully he comes. If he comes I'll have him speak to his experience with it, because it's
Yeah,
always kind of
yeah.
fun to hear the ups and downs of the eclipse travel or any
Yeah.
kind of travel.
Yeah.
And I got one more, which you guys have seen this
Mhm.
probably. I mean, you
Yeah.
saw it as a movie maybe, but this
Yeah.
that's just that's kind of a still collage with seeing changing quite a bit. That's from beginning to the end. The beginning is partially sky seeing, partially, I think, heat from my roof, even though it was further away, but it wasn't that far away. But it had the red spots, so I kind of wanted to get that. But during opposition, it's always cool because the moon and the shadow are almost under each other. So it gives you a little more of a 3D effect, especially in an image like this one. It looks like it's kind of sticks out more. It's kind of flat here, but it's neat when it gets to the edge.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
Really nice
That-
time.
that's
I got
great how
tagged
well
with
the moon stands out against the background.
as far as in the when it crosses across Jupiter, you mean, Wayne?
Yeah, well, too often
Yeah.
Io
Yeah.
or the other moons
Oh yeah,
will
it gets
kind of
lost. It
disappear
really,
when they
yeah, it
pass
all
in
depends on the moon, because some are brighter than others, right? With different the
Yeah,
albedo
that's
is
true.
different. But I think what makes all the difference is where it's crossing. If it crosses a darker band, it really stands out and looks cool.
Oh yeah,
Otherwise, I mean, I had a picture earlier this year, and Io, it went across a little bit of dark band at the beginning, and then just faded away, and all you can see is the shadow moving.
Swallowed it up.
Io's really hard to pick up.
I swear there was one that you could actually see some surface texture on one of the moons that you.
Yeah, Ganymede, you can see it. Yeah,
That blew my mind. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, you can pull that because it's the albedo difference in it's like it's kind of an irregular area that's kind of darker, and this matching part, it's kind of like a yin yang kind of thing, where
Hmm.
it's
Right.
it's kind of neat, even though it's small. The contrast is there, so you can pull a little bit of detail.
That's so cool.
Haven't got with anything else though. I was curious if I could get more, but it's kind of asking a lot at that point because it's not that big, and it's if the brightness is pretty uniform, it's not much to pull. You're dealing with about 3 or 4 pixels here or there, trying to get a difference. But anyway,
Drizzle.
that's what I got. Drizzle, oh drizzle.
Yeah, the other night I was trying for Saturn, and I wanted to try exposing for Saturn and exposing for the moons.
Mhm.
But I realized that, well, of course, I had dew problems I didn't realize at the
No,
time.
that's really a problem.
But I was exposing like a half a second on them to get the moons. I
Mhm.
couldn't even see them on my computer screen. I guess they've got to be in the data there, but I don't know. But by the time I was doing that, the lens was probably mostly fogged over. But I was impressed with how much exposure it took in order to get them to show up. They're not very bright.
Yeah, I don't think I ever really tried for the moons of Saturn. They definitely don't show up when you're imaging Saturn.
Right.
I did got like four of the brighter moons of Uranus.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but that was, I'm trying to think. That was I was shooting it. I wasn't shooting at typical planetary f values. I was shooting at f9, I think. So I was pretty quick for a planetary. It was just a 6-inch f9 prime focus, and I think I was still shooting probably at least a second or two, I think, in exposure, and the gain was half cranked up because you're talking 14th magnitude,
Yeah. That
Six.
Miranda's hard to shoot. Miranda's
That is, I tried that.
You need a
twice,
huge focal length. I don't know that I think I've only captured it once. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, I looked for it because the night I took that picture this fall, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it kind of stays roughly the same distance, but it's a little closer, a little further sometimes, you know. And I
Right.
thought it was a little more favorable, but it wasn't even close to showing it. But I think you're right. You really got to jack the power up. But you start shooting, you know, a second or two or whatever, you know, at very high power, you begin to
Right.
really get atmosphere
You
wiggles,
had,
you
great,
know.
you had a great shot in the newsletter of
Oh,
the
thanks.
that was
That
really
was,
great.
Yeah.
That Miranda, I think, was discovered later than the other four.
yeah, it was. Yeah.
At McDonald, I think. I think they used the 88-inch
Yeah. I mean, I
McDonald.
can't believe those moons were discovered by when they were discovered. I mean, they were discovered a long time ago, those four brighter ones.
Billy
They're-
Lassell. Billy
Yeah, they're
Lassell, I
pretty
think, did a couple of them.
challenging stuff to
Yeah.
try to like visually, I can't imagine.
Yeah, they're pretty faint.
What's amazing is sometimes you read about the early guys and they were saying what the periods of the moons were, the orbit periods, and being accurate within like half an hour or something, you know, which is
Right.
ridiculous, you know,
Yeah,
because it's so close and so tight.
Yeah.
I guess the bright object comparably, it's like that's just insane. I tried an experiment with Jupiter's moons once, about 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. I got my very first telescope, a 60 millimeter refractor, had 35 power in it. And the goal was I wasn't going to look at where Jupiter's moons were. And I'd go out every clear night and I would dot them in where they were, like Galileo did, and see if I could determine which moon was which. And what I didn't realize, which now you really realize when you're doing imaging, how fast these moons, how fast Io and Europa moves. I could determine, I mean, Ganymede and Callisto are out, they move out far enough. They don't move that much from night to night. If you go night to night for Io or something and Europa, they're moving back and forth. You can't tell who's who. You got to do that a couple times a night, you know, and really get the motion, which I didn't. When I did the experiment, the test, I wasn't really thinking they'd move that fast. But after imaging it, I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? Because it crosses the whole planet in an hour, or so, and you can see it just move constantly, and it's just incredible how fast it moves, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I judged a science fair one time, and one of the students did a study of the moons of Jupiter, and he had a chart on the display of Jupiter and then 4 moons on one side. This was every day for like a month, February or something. 4 moons on the left, then 3 and 1, 3 on the left, 1 on the right,
Yeah.
then 2
Yeah.
and 2, and so forth. And so I told the other judges, this is all made up here. This is not right.
Yeah.
So they knew when we had to interview them that what the situation was. So
Yeah.
I just made a comment to him. Boy, you must have been really lucky to get 28 days or whatever it was in a row.
Yeah,
of
8 days in a
clear
row. Good
skies.
seeing of clear
He said,
sky.
yeah, he was very lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, really lucky. Yeah.
He's in jail now.
Yeah.
I don't know. He
Credit
didn't get
card
any
fraud.
awards. I know that for
Yeah.
a science
He's
fair
like-
project.
He's in a
Probably in
was-
academia.
he's
He
in a
was
minimum.
from a school where they required every student to do a science fair project, and then they sent them all to the county, and
Oh,
so
boy.
you had a bunch of crap projects instead
Yeah,
of picking
sure.
out the best.
Yeah.
So
He became a bond trader.
yeah, no, I was doing the
right.
county
Crypto.
science
He's in
fair.
crypto now.
Oh no.
A Bolivia address.
Yeah.
But I took one look at his chart and I knew, oh, this is bullshit here. Oh well. Yeah.
You
Anybody
have
else?
anything, Joe?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I got a question for anybody. Maybe Joe, do you have experience with this sky quality meter?
I do not. Alan Purdy is one fella that knows a lot about that.
Who?
I'm sure you can talk with him direct.
Al.
Oh,
Alan
uses
Purdy
them a
is,
lot, and I think
Barry Johnson. Sort
Barry
of.
Johnson.
Yeah.
There are two I could think of, but no, I'm sorry that I don't.
okay.
What kind of readings you get from up there?
Almost zero. No. Well, that's what I was trying to make heads or tails out of these readings and maybe compare to what
15.3.
some other people got. There's a nice little picture here
Daytime.
of the moon and some street lights right on it. I don't know if you see that over to the
Yeah.
left.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's at 17 and 17 and a half. So I've done about 6 measurements over several days, and typically 18.4 to 19.12. And the highest I got once was 19.4. So that's like in the first 20% of this little picture that they showed you on the
Yeah,
front.
that's not bad. I mean, that's a lot better than me. I'm at about it's about where I thought, because your house is darker than my house. If you look on the Bortle maps, and stuff.
Yeah,
I think
but
at my house I'm like an 18, what's 18.7 maybe.
yeah. Okay. Well, that's
I'm
kind of
Bortle. I'm just at the edge of a Bortle 7, Bortle 8. If my house was it's about 2,000 feet away, I'd be Bortle 8, but I'm Bortle 7 by just a hair.
so is there a chart that correlates this? Like this number to the Bortle number?
There is a.
Yes, yeah, I think so.
I cheat and use this website with a calculator. I
If
just
you
put
get
it
above
in the chat.
19, you're probably, I mean, overhead on a really good night, especially if it's later, I might be able to, with averted vision, glimpse a magnitude 4 star, but that's really a very rare occurrence, probably just in the winter after midnight. I'm pretty much about 3.5 is my limit, magnitude 3.5.
Yeah.
I can't always see the Big Dipper, all of it. And that corner star is 3.4. And sometimes that's the one I judge. If I can't see it, then I know it's going to be a kind of a rough night that they're doing a deep sky. But if I can see it, then I know it's at least transparent enough that I have a chance of picking something up.
So
You
Dom, do you think this scale is just arbitrary, or is this actually mean something?
That would probably mean something, but I
Is it
don't know.
calibrated?
I've never used a quality meter. I just know these numbers. And I'm not even sure. It seems like it's funny because not having used one, but having heard these numbers, like your numbers, like Cherry Springs is 21 point whatever, on this night, or 21.5, or it's 20.8, but it seems like everything is really scrunched up. It isn't like a logarithmic scale as far as, like, I mean, it's really tight. If my backyard is like 18.7, which is really bad, and Cherry Springs, which is very good, is only like a couple, it's like 21, 2 is
Yeah.
really a great reading or something.
Yeah.
It's like, geez, it's all kind of stacked up, this 19 is so much better than 18.7 there. 19.5 is way better than 19, and it's like, wow, it's only half a number. Why couldn't he, why couldn't he have a better
Not only that,
scale?
but if I stand in the same spot and do it 3 times, I'll get slightly different numbers. But as you pointed out, that could mean a lot. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you always say to aim it at I guess, right overhead, but from some practical respects, being an astrophotographer, it'd probably be curious to see if you're imaging one thing and it's high in the sky, you take those readings, but then take it where if it's down, 30 degrees above the horizon, where it's not going to be nearly as good, take readings there just out of curiosity.
Right.
What the kind of like, what is your sky really like? It's overhead, it's this, but below, anything below 30 degrees, it's not
Yeah.
great, kind of a
Did you
thing.
find a chart or something, John?
I sent you a link in the chat.
Yeah, Steve,
And
what were your numbers again?
Um, basically, the majority of what I'm getting is between 18.4 and 19.12.
Okay.
And I've got an outlier at 19.4 that happened one time.
6.
you're like high Bortle 5s, Bortle 6.
Yeah, it's
Ah.
showing here.
Yeah, the 18.4 it says 6.8. I'm looking at limiting magnitude 4.9.
Where are you seeing that?
18.5 to 19.25 is a 6. Bright suburban sky, according to this.
Yeah, I'm just at that link that John put in. Look in the chat there, Steve, and he put a link in, and it brings up tools from SharpCap, and
Yeah.
it does a sort of, I guess, some kind of
A little conversion at the
conversion.
top. Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes it at 19.5, you're at Bortle 5.3. At 18.7, you're at 6.7. Limiting magnitude 5.6. Wow, that's pretty.
Ambitious.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know if I could see that. And that's kind of a thing. I guess maybe if you were 20 years old,
Right. If you're 12 in perfect vision.
because
Big eyes.
I mean, it's funny all the just as you get older, how much your iris does not open up like the original when you're really young. It's 7, maybe even 7.2, and I think the last time I went to the doctors, or the time before last, when they put the drops in, so to do a dilate, I figured that's about as big as it's going to get. So I said, well, because she knows I'm an amateur astronomer and stuff, and we talked about a bunch of different things. So I said, what is my what is the reading on my iris? Because I'm
Your
curious.
entrance
'Cause
pupil.
I really can't get better than this probably on my own, because you're medicating me. And it was only about, I don't know, 5.2 or something, it was really way smaller. I'm like,
Ah,
geez, if I'm at, so when I go to Cherry Springs, I can see I'm probably seeing a half a magnitude less than you would see, John, maybe even 3/4 of a magnitude.
I asked my doc. My doc said I had about 6 under similar conditions.
Yeah.
So, but
So
my friends can see more than me. I was out before and they're like, oh, look at the Pleiades. And I'm like, where?
You're right. How many do you see? Well, I can see I can see 7, maybe 8. I'm thinking, I'm looking,
Yeah.
going, it's 5 probably.
Right.
If I, it's a
So
funny
how,
thing.
how do you get a hold of some of these drops so when you go out?
Yeah. You know what the problem is? You can't focus, Steve.
Yeah.
You are so out of focus because your eyes are
Yeah.
so big.
You need a
There's
new
nothing
car
happening.
each time, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, I'm working on cataracts. One of these years, I'm going to be getting cataract surgery, apparently.
It's
So-
going to be interesting for you, and I'm curious to see this myself, if I can try it. But I don't know if those lenses yellow slowly over time. I imagine they do. Everything yellows over time. But before I had my cataracts done, I built this little spectroscope out of spare parts I had in the basement. I had extra diffraction grating and different kinds of lenses and mirrors and stuff. So I just kind of cobbled this thing together. And I was looking at the fluorescent lights in the basement. And I'm looking at it and I can see all these emission lines. And but there's nothing in the far purple. And I'm looking online. There should be a far purple. I can't see it. After the cataract surgery, I can see that so easy. It's unbelievable, because because your lens is yellowing, and so you're losing all the purple.
Oh,
So that's why people put the yellow filters on refractors and stuff. You can block the
the
How
blue
about that?
blockers.
Well, I just
What's-
got sunglasses that are designed to correct color blindness, which I have issues with. But these are sunglasses, so that I can't use them at night or anything. And I'm not going to buy regular glasses. They make a version for daylight use or for darker use, but because it's filtration, it's blocking sunlight, so it may
there isn't
make
that
it
much.
harder for driving.
Yeah, I mean, your rods kind of take over at night anyway. Your cones aren't really. There's not enough light for your cones to really make much color anyway.
That's
Typically, so
That's
it wouldn't
true.
be worth it probably.
But I did get these just in time to see a couple red trees that had turned red before they
Oh, okay.
dropped their leaves,
Yeah.
and it was startling to see that vivid
Yeah.
red
That's
that I'd never
cool.
seen before.
That's so cool.
That's great, Wayne. That is really great.
Nice.
Yeah, go through your whole life seeing things one way, and then all of a sudden you get a little taste of.
Yeah.
It doesn't correct color vision, color blindness, but it does enhance your ability to see certain shades a little bit and distinguish certain shades.
Yeah, I had my cataracts were very unusual in that they didn't like gray things out. Things didn't get darker or hazy or anything like that. What happened was I was nearsighted, and all of a sudden I wasn't nearsighted, and I could see perfectly fine, and I could see close. I was like, "Wow, this is wonderful." But then it just kept going over a very short period, over months. In the one eye in particular, it just kept going to the point where it just the growth kept growing, I guess, but it was pretty smooth. And the optometrist and the ophthalmologist were both surprised, like that it grew so smoothly that I could see clearly. But the focus changed to such an extreme. I had monovision, which basically one of my left eye, I could see things at infinity beautifully. In my right eye, but I cannot see close up that well. In my right eye, everything I could hold from like 3 inches to about 10 inches, perfectly sharp. Beyond that, it just faded immediately. 3 or 4 feet, I couldn't see anything. Just a vague. It was saw the focus was unbelievable. But I had that for a while, and I was getting used to it. So I could read a newspaper, and my brain would use the right eye, and I could look far and use my left eye, and it was pretty wild. And I had this, and but it was getting more extreme, and I said, no, I gotta get this taken care of because it's really messing up astronomy, especially with the binoculars I made. It was getting so extreme. I was the focus between the two eyepieces was enormous. I mean, it was like 1.5 inches. It was incredible. So I got both eyes done, and when that happened, I had a moment. It didn't last very long. That's maybe a week, where I had what I would call a ViewMaster moment. Remember as a kid, you look at the ViewMaster and you get this extreme 3 dimension? Well, suddenly, because I was losing that 3 dimension gradually over time, I wasn't really seeing in 3 dimensions. It was all kind of flattened out, but I really didn't notice it because it happens gradually. And suddenly when it happened, I'm sitting at the kitchen table, I'm saying, look at that salt shaker there, and the pepper's like 4 inches behind it. It's unbelievable. It was so exaggerated. It was so neat. I was like, I could turn my head and everything was just, I could see all this depth perception was incredible. And my brain wasn't used to it. But after about a week, your brain kind of, okay, enough of that. But it was really kind of fun. I mean, it was really fun.
That's
crazy
cool.
Yeah, well, I was just talking to a neighbor here that just got one eye worked on for the cataracts, and he was saying how much brighter everything is. He didn't
will
realize.
Be whiter, really. Well, mine was whiter. Boy, the yellows. You don't know what white is. You lose white.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah,
you'll notice it.
Way back when in the early 80s, Walter Scott Houston was still writing Deep Sky Wonders for Sky and Telescope. And he was one of the early guys that got his lenses done, and he was talking about how spectral the colors were like on deep sky objects, and he was a huge observer over time.
Yeah,
he said when he was looking through the telescope afterwards at planetary nebulae, like how much color he was seeing on certain ones, the ones that were bright enough, like the Eskimo and planetaries like that. He said, when I get my eyes done, and I could see colors I could never see before in them, it was really pretty cool.
Especially on planetaries, because all that blue glow,
Yeah,
kind of bluish and stuff, and
yeah,
and that's what goes with the cataracts. You begin to lose that, with the old filter.
yeah, very good.
I have a 3-minute demo if you guys want to see Graxpert AI going.
Oh, hang on there for a minute. Yeah.
I'll do a quick
I have
screen
fiddled
share.
with this, but the AI version, I think I just fiddled with for literally like one time because I had the Graxpert regular and then the AI version came out, which
Yeah, the regular
I think is better.
The regular is a lot like Cyril.
Yeah,
You
it
can
is.
just,
It wasn't much of a difference, so I wasn't using it. But then I saw the AI version came
yeah.
out,
So
and I
it's
started working that into my flow.
whoops, called Graxpert. You can download it. It's free.
Maybe.
GRAXPERT. I'll drop it in the chat.
It's for background extraction stuff,
Yeah. Where'd our chat
grading,
go? Or
removals.
whatever. We'll deal with it. So here's an image I took without any flats. This is with my Newt through a coma corrector. So it has some vignetting with the APS-C sensor. And normally you have to go in and do all these grids. You guys have all done this.
Yeah.
Click all these grids and fuss with it. But this one, you don't have to do any of that. You just come down, you say AI,
Yeah.
you choose either 0 smoothing or 1 smoothing. And then you just hit calculate background and wait about 5 seconds. And boom. Whoops. No, sorry, not this. Stop, go away. So then you can go in, it's pretty cool. You can see the original, you can see the processed version, and you can see the background that it extracted. So you can see it looks like it made a flat basically
Yeah.
that it pulls out. You can zoom in and look around. And,
Yeah, it's one more step, but what I've tried is you might do a similar thing because I'll just open Serial, crop it, then I go take the crop version, run it through this thing,
that's exactly what I do. You
and
crop it first and
I
then do
bring that
this.
in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same thing. So I've had pretty good luck with it though.
That's great.
And it's
That's really
free.
great.
And anyway. Whoops.
Yeah, it does a little better job than Serial by itself, I think.
I think it does also. But like you said, you
Yeah.
need to crop it first. Otherwise the corners get a little weird.
Yeah, you get funny things.
Yeah. So there you go.
There
There's
you go.
Well, I got to head off, guys. See you at the meeting.
Good to see you, Doug.
Yeah.
Take care.
Okay. Everybody going to the meeting tomorrow?
I'll be there.
Oh, what's tomorrow? I was thinking
I'll be
Friday.
there
Oh,
on-
Friday.
Friday, yeah.
Sorry. I'll be there tomorrow. Where's everybody? Where's that AV guy at?
Oh no. In lieu, yeah. No boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I think Wayne's saying goodbye. He's muted.
Yeah, I
But he's
saw
waving.
Wayne waving.
But yeah, so
Okay.
Yeah,
okay, well, there you go.
I'm gonna head out.
Yeah,
Wait.
I attempted to shoot the sun. I only got an hour in one day this week, a couple days ago. Wasn't much must have been Monday. Wasn't much activity, but I was just anxious to get something to play with something, so I just did a little quick imaging. And I had solar scopes on the mount anyway, so I figured, well, while everything's set up, might as well take a little image. But just trying to make a little video, but with the sun, it's like it's hit and miss. You put if there's not much if there's a lot of activity, where there's a real active area, you can image it, and you're going to get something. It'll change over time pretty quickly. If it's pretty quiet, you just pick the noisiest area and go, well, I hope something happens in the next hour. And sometimes you shoot an hour's worth, you get a bunch of things to stack, and then you get something. Other times it's just nothing. It's quiet, and you get little tiny motions, nothing much. I think that was the case. I didn't fully process it yet, but I had an interesting thing happen. First time it happened was on Jupiter in early November when I was doing that Europa thing. When I go to stack it, probably I'd say 20% of my videos at the very beginning had 1 to 3 frames that had sharp lines going across, like just like noise lines, but it's a bar. And when you go to Auto Stacker, it makes that the sharpest image because that bar is needle sharp. And then so you can tell right away because your percentage of good and bad, how it goes up and down with an auto stacker. It's just right across the bottom because it's like there's a real high spike because the first one's sharp, and in comparison thing, it's that chart is a relative thing. It's not like an absolute thing. It's comparison to your best, and it just goes in. It just has this flat spot. I look over and you can see the spark or the spike, whatever it was, and you can just block that one out by hitting the space bar, and you can ignore that, and you can reanalyze it. And if there's another one, it'll come up, and you can ignore that one, and then you can process. But when that kind of thing happens, it really screws up if you're trying to take a whole mess of pictures of like Jupiter or the sun, because you want to go and do and you just take them all in with AutoStacker and say stack away and walk away from it. A half hour later or an hour later, they're all stacked. You don't want to go in there for each one and open them up and
blink 10,000 frames.
Yeah, really. Well, you analyze it's only 1 or 2 frames, but then but a funny thing happened. I'm thinking, I wonder if one of my cables is acting up, or if it's the camera. Why am I getting it? It's just, but then I thought, no, it's not the camera problem, because on Jupiter I was using the 462 and this is the 174, so 2 different cameras. So I said, because it was back-to-back times. I said, okay, it's not the camera, so it's got to be my booster cable or my little 6 foot or 2 meter cable with the USB B and the A on the other side, that it comes with the camera. I'm thinking, because I had one of those crimp up on me and I started getting all kinds of noise and static once, so I just got rid of it. But then what I did is I did something, and I just restarted. I set it down, started Sharp Cap again, and shot even more videos than I did previously, and everyone was perfect. There was no problem at all, and I didn't even touch any of the cable or anything else. So now I'm wondering if I haven't Sharp Cap comes up with updates very rarely, every few weeks, and I haven't updated in a while. I wonder if one of the updates, the older updates, might have had a little glitchy thing in it, because I don't know why it would suddenly improve at 100%, be really good if it wasn't software, because it was nothing physically changed. It didn't even move on the mount. It was just tracked. Literally, it was just because I'm sitting in my sun porch. It's out there. I'm not even going near it, and it just stopped doing it, and it was great. But that was a weird thing I had happen. In case anybody sees that in the future,
I think it's a voltage issue.
I don't think so, because I don't know why it was happening pretty rarely. It was happening on about 50% of the videos. I was doing like 1 every 2 minutes of the sun. And then when I rebooted Sharp Cap, I didn't get it at all. And I must have ran 15 more videos, and not one of them had it.
How about that?
They were all good.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I was stunned, actually. I didn't even realize that was happening at the time, till I was doing the processing. And I was going through each file. So I stacked each file individually. I stacked it to see how many frames were messed up. And once I rebooted, I came in here and I retyped the name of the file in again. And so it's a little different. The second name's a little different. So I know all the files that were done after the reboot versus the ones before the reboot. And they were all good. Not a problem, not 1 frame. Anyway, that was a weird thing that I just would throw out there. I know you've seen that bar now and then, Steve, I think, right?
Yeah, with the SI Air. It's very occasional. And like you say, it just shows up once in a while.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if it happens once in a night, that's one thing. But it was happening like initially, it was happening probably for a while. My first did it, it looked like the first 5 videos, they all had a couple frames at the beginning. Not really in the beginning, because they're intermixed. And actually, I'm watching the screen, and I could see it flash. And there was something funny going on too, because my Sharp Cap, the frame rate's always been like, it's rock solid. It doesn't vary. It varies by maybe a half a frame or 1 frame per second. When I'm shooting at a speed of like 124, it'll go 123, 124, 123, 124. The whole time it's taking pictures. Well, when it started doing other stuff, it was going 123, 124, 62, 98, 61, then 124, 124. And then it just stayed high, but it didn't happen when I first started the capture. It happened like in the middle of the captures. It would just suddenly slow down a bit. it wouldn't slow down like really slow, but it dropped maybe to 60 frames per second versus 120, significant, half.
So I
But
was,
in the reboot, it stayed 124. Like everyone was 124, no variations.
How about that?
this
Yeah.
past week, I spent some time on Jupiter and Saturn and had a heck of a time processing until I realized I'd left my narrow band filter in.
Oh, you're going for
Ah.
special atmospheric effects. You're doing some spectral analysis of Saturn.
Yeah,
Pretty advanced stuff you're working on there.
all junk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny when that stuff happens.
That's
Hey, I
funny.
have an issue. My Registax has lost some of its functionality. There are certain modules on Registax, like RGB balance, and
Yeah.
that don't work on mine. When I click it, they don't open. And I've re-downloaded it, and I still am not getting it. Any
That's
ideas?
weird. Yeah, I've never seen that. That's a
mean,
weird.
I don't think Registax has been upgraded in years. It's the
I think it's
same-
probably at least 10 years.
right. So I'm wondering.
I can tell you what version I got.
I
I'll
think
tell you
six-
here right now.
6.2. I think it's
Um,
6.2.
no, it's Registat 6, 6.0.
So Joe, did you actually uninstall it?
And reinstall it. Yeah. Yeah.
Mine says, yeah, my version right here, it says Registrax 6.0, the software and alignment, probably processing, copyrighted 2010, 2011 from
Pretty old.
the Netherlands. Yeah, works like a champ, though. It's a great program. I just hope whatever version of Windows come out next, it'll still work,
Yeah.
because this thing is
I have the same
Yeah.
version. Yeah, I have the same version.
the same version, 6. I mean,
Yeah.
that's been the version up there forever.
Right. Right.
There was a 5.0. When I first started doing any kind of processing, I just bought the least expensive Orion color camera they had. I just bought my Lunt. It was back in 2010 or so, and I wanted to see if I really wanted to fuss with this stuff. If I enjoyed doing stacking and sharpening, if it was just be a pain in the neck, it was worth it. And I did it, and I didn't do it. I wasn't using AutoStack. I was using Registax for everything. You can,
Yeah.
align all
Well, I
it.
don't think AutoStacker was out, Tom.
It might not have been back then.
No, because I think everyone was using Registax from start to
Yeah,
finish.
so I did it, and I really liked that. This is really kind of cool, and it was like a miracle too, because it just sharpened things ridiculous. I was like, wow, this takes something that's pretty blurry and makes it look good, So and then I went out, I bought a decent camera and went on from there. But that may have been Registax 5. The very first thing, it might have been 5, but I know shortly after that I got 6. But I think the very first version I ever loaded was a 5.
Yeah.
But,
It didn't change much from 5 to 6. It
No,
hasn't-
I didn't notice any difference.
Yeah. I hear all the time that the fella's coming out with a new version, but they've been talking about it for months and nothing happens.
I hear that, and even Sky and Telescope, right? One of the last couple of months, there was a whole thing on processing. I guess it was processing planetary images, and the guy went through and I forget who wrote it, but he was describing it all, and he's going through AutoStacker and stuff, and he came out with a new program, and he said this is the replacement for Registax, and but it didn't have like the 6 wavelets. It had like 2, I think. It only had 2 wavelet type of things. And I fiddled with it once. I think Wayne might use it, or at least has tried it. And I think I tried it one of my stacks that I had done with Registax. I did it with this program. And I didn't spend a lot of time with it because I just wanted to see real quick if it was anything. And in my first impressions I don't know how to make it as good as Registax in what the settings are. I just fool a little bit. And yeah, planetary systems, maybe that's it. Yeah.
Is that it?
That might be it. I forget what it was called, but that might be the one that's
This is the newest thing that's like Registax I've heard of. I haven't tried it.
I think it's what they mentioned in Sky. Like I
They
said,
said
it was
works
in
in batches. You just like throw your files at it and it does everything.
Yeah, it was something like October to
Yeah.
October or November issue, I think. There was a planetary processing
Hmm.
article, and it was going through all that stuff. And it was talking about how they talks about the WinJuPo stuff and everything. And
What does that do? I saw Joe using it. Does that like make the planet normal looking? Like
it
rotate?
derotates it.
It derotates it,
Okay.
you know.
Does it
There's
do
some
other
things
stuff?
that
Or
On
is that...
Jupiter, because it rotates so quickly, you know, it smears after about a minute. You'll start starting to get smearing.
You're
Yeah.
losing detail.
So,
That's
so
one of these
you're
things that
limited in the number of frames you can shoot in a minute.
Yeah.
But with WinJuPos, it will actually derotate the planet.
Oh, okay. It's not just rotating it like this.
So you can add more frames, you know, and get a better signal.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
signal.
So you kind of take a series of these 1 minute jobbies,
Yeah.
and you can put them in there, and now you got like a 6 minute or a 10 minute
Right.
thing. So now you've multiplied the frames by 10, you know, and so you got
Right.
less noise. And
That makes sense. That's a good reason to use it.
And you know what else it does? And geez, I'm probably the last guy in the world that didn't know this, but when I was doing Uranus and Neptune a couple of months ago, I was looking around for you know, something to show where the moons are. And Sky and Telescope, as you know, has something, and
yeah, the interactive tool.
they have an interactive tool. Well, WinJuPos gives them too. If you look in tools, it'll show you the positions.
Oh, I
of
didn't know
the
that.
moons. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I just found that out like a month ago. I'm going to talk about it a little bit on Friday. Let's just show real quick. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, so it's easier. But Sky and Telescope has a real good interactive thing too. You know, you punch in the date and time, and it'll give that to you. You know, but the program, I forget the name of the program that you're talking about, but I saw about a year ago a video on the sun, and this guy was a big sun expert, you know, and he does the lucky imaging, but he was using that same program I think you're talking about. He said it's better on the sun, and maybe that's why Wayne uses it. He said it's better on
maybe. I didn't try it on the sun stack.
yeah.
I tried it on
If it's the same program, I
Jupiter,
don't
yeah.
remember the name, but he said, yeah, he prefers doing that on solar videos. So it gets
You know,
better.
the solar stuff, especially in white light, I stack them, but I barely use the sliders at all. And to get my white light spots, and I'll use Adobe Lightroom to do my sharpening, because it's pretty subtle. I'm not doing big things like I am with the planets, you know, where it's
Right.
changing completely. Even with the hydrogen alpha, I'll sharpen more than I will in white light, but it's way below where I do with the planets, you know, because you can push the sun overboard very quickly, and
Right.
it looks kind of over processed.
Yeah. Well, you're pretty subtle with that, you know.
I try to be, but
No, I mean, even on the planets, you know, when you were doing the tutorial
Mhm.
a while back,
Oh yeah.
you're pretty subtle. I'm kind of like a mass murderer when it comes to using those
11s.
Like I'm just like,
Slide.
you know, like
Noise.
I should probably take some
The
you know,
noise 0, sharpening 200. Slide those sliders.
Yeah, I never saw a slider I didn't like, you know. So, so you know, I'm like, you're really subtle, you know. I don't know if it was from doing extractions all these years. I don't know, but
I don't know. I just changed. I took pictures back in early October, and we had Agapios last month.
I think he was here
Was that
last
last month? We had Agapios.
Yeah, I missed it, but yeah.
yeah, it was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and he was there. So I sent him.
Yeah, that was when we were doing that.
Yeah.
But,
I sent him the pictures I did in October, and he said, you know, what he's found lately. He says, if I were you, I would add more color and less sharpening. Not by a lot, just maybe a few percent less sharpening, maybe 5% less sharpening, and maybe 20 to 30% more color. Because he says your colors are a bit muted, but I didn't want it to look fake through color. But then I said, okay, I'll give that a try. And I fool with it, and I would put them together and look at them together and stuff. And I kind of like it better. So the last two images I've taken of Jupiter, the one back on November 3rd and the one in late October. I processed that way, just a hair less sharpening and it's just a hair more color. And I kind of like it better. Gives you a little better, because he says actually it brings out more detail in a way, because the color is changing, like the contrast too a little bit. You know what I mean? It's a little bit subtle, so things come out that without sharpening as much. So it's
The
I don't know,
wonderful
it's always
hobby, man.
it's
Yeah.
always learning. It's everybody's taste too. I mean, I
Right.
can look at a picture and say, wow, that is way over processed. And somebody else look at it and go, man, that's perfect. And I'll go, okay,
Some of
maybe
them
I'm
look like
overly
Easter
sensitive.
eggs. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a funny thing.
Huh.
That's what makes it fun, though.
You give
Yeah.
me an idea for my processing. I've been using the deconvolution to kind of sharpen it a bit, but it ends up kind of noisy. So maybe I'll
Or
go
what, the
easy on that.
planets or the,
No, it's
oh, your other ones.
yeah, for the deep sky. But I mean, to your point, like adding more color can help people see those differences,
Yeah. So
maybe in a
that's
way.
something that
So
was, yeah. So maybe a
I'll
little more
dial back the
saturation.
sharpening and add the
Yeah. Bring
color.
back.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. I haven't had much luck doing planets or the moon or sun with the deconvolution tools, and that kind of thing.
yeah.
Registax, I have kind of a I basically have I save something. If once I get something that's right for a given night, I'll save it. I'll save those set of settings, with the sliders. And my next time in, I don't do it all the time, but I'll go in there and I'll say, okay, and I'll look at three or four of those sets and say, okay, which one of these is it the closest to? And then I might tweak it. Also, like, oh, that is fine now. I'll use that same setting, in this particular light, because it's everything's the same camera, same scope, uh, same bar lows, everything's the same.
Hmm.
So it shouldn't change too much, but there always is some subtleties. But but yeah, but um, I always kind of start with the with what I have saved, and I look at them and go, because but it's funny. You go back, and I have some that are saved that are just so poor. When I look, I don't know what I could have used it on, because if I use any object, sun, moon, planets, if I pull up that save setting, I mean nothing looks good. I'm like, wonder what was so weird about those raw images that made this that look decent. There's no way it looks decent now.
Yeah, those schemes, that I save in Registax. I mean, I'll try them a couple nights later, and it's absolutely awful. You wonder
Yeah.
what changed. Is it the atmospheric? You know, is it transparency? Is it seeing?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Seeing is the big deal, I think, of all that, really.
yeah,
Transparency, but seeing, because I know I have I guess I have four or five that are my go-to ones, and they're kind of like arranged like least sharpening to most sharpening. And depending on how good the night was, I can't use the ones that are like the strongest sharpening unless I stack at least 2,000 to 3,000 frames stacked minimum. So I've got to be shooting around 10,000 frames and have a great night of staying if I'm going to stack. And sometimes I'll stack up maybe 6,000 frames out of 10,000 if it was an extraordinary night. Did that once last year. This year, seeing hasn't been anywhere near those 3 nights last year. Seeing was unbelievable. I mean, it was ridiculous. You could look on your screen in live view, and it was like a finished image almost. It was like, this is ridiculous,
Wow.
But no such luck this year. This year is like typical, where you're like fighting to find the focus and everything and going flying around, and you get one. I mean, when Agapius does it, he shoots literally bang to bang to bang, one after the other, because he's, like he says, he's fishing with a net, not a hook, and he's looking for that image. When I do it, I'm always thinking GIF. I'm always thinking GIF. With anything I shoot, I'm thinking, how can I make a movie? so, so I want to go and chew up. I have to watch, my disk space and stuff. I'm trying to frame rate up, so I'm saving all these frames, and I'm, if one video is 8 or 10 gigs, and you go through your disk pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm always thinking, okay, what is my spacing with Jupiter? If I do an image every 2.5 minutes, that's pretty good, and then I'll go and I'll make the GIF, and you'll see the variation in seeing, which is kind of like real. It's real life.
Yeah.
But usually in that set, at least there's one or two that are better than the others. That's the one I caught on my hook. That I'll make as a. I won't make it as I'll pull it out as a standalone image versus putting it in the GIF.
Hey guys, I gotta run.
Yeah,
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 it'll be a good time. I might run too.
Yeah, I
we
think
can
so.
call it. It's fine.
But great seeing you guys.
Yeah,
tonight.
good to see you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Thanks
take
for
care,
chatting.
Steve, Joe.
very good.
We'll
I'll
do
see
it,
everybody. I'll
All right,
see you
Friday.
two guys Friday.
Hang out on Friday.
All right.
Yeah,
Have a good
I'm
night.
looking forward to that observation talk there, observing talk, Joe. I'll keep raising my hand. You can't possibly mean
I'll get the
things like that.
Well, I've done
Are you
research
kidding
on this,
me?
and
I'll be in the back going, "Are you kidding me?" I'll give somebody else
just
five
I
or
just-
$6 to say the same thing.
yeah, I just talked to a NASA guy, and right.
Yeah, right. He says that isn't right at all.